I am Omaru Sandamadu. My guest is Gabby Otchere-Darko. He has refused to let me describe him by what people describe him on the street, so I will not call him. I'll just say lawyer and journalist. Let's talk about the economy. You're talking about testing records or comparing them. The World Bank projected that the economy of 2017 will be growing by 8%. This is the foundation that John Mahama left behind. When he was leaving, he had solved the perennial doomsday problem. You may argue that he created it, but he solved it permanently. The economy of Ghana was rated among the fastest growing economies in Africa. These are some of the things he left, and I could read a few more. What has Akufo-Addo done which surpasses what he did, what John Mahama did?
Let me just take just the two indicators he used. 2016, that was what he left behind. Mm-hmm. The prediction of the World Bank was based on even a greater expectation in terms of GDP growth for 2016. Mm-hmm. 2016 was 3.4% GDP growth. Mm-hmm. And you know what that meant? It was the lowest GDP growth for the whole of the Fourth Republic. In fact, the last time we got 3.3 was in 1990. Okay? All right? So that's the basis that you should look at. So what the World Bank predicted was based on even a higher expectation in terms of what Mahama could have achieved in 2016. You talk about doomsday. He had not solved doomsday. And I explained to you, doomsday was not based on the absence of capacity. Go and read his 2013 State of the Nation address. He had already said what we had. And even today, our capacity at peak time is what? 2,700 megawatts. Yet we have installed capacity over 5,000 megawatts. And we pay for them.
Which we intend to sell to the sub-region, what he argued at the time.
You cannot. How do you go and contract something that you have to pay when you don't have a buyer?
Okay.
Is that management? Is that proper economic management? That we've spent over 4 billion paying for electricity, part of it that we don't use. We raised $3 billion in February, just before COVID kicked in. $1 billion of the $3 billion, okay, was used, about half of that used in restructuring and paying off some bad contracts that this government inherited. So it was said way back in we had doomsday for about 5 years. The argument then for some of us was that it was not merely about capacity. It was really the fact that the government was not prepared to pay. And look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. What is actually interesting, and I think that's how people should gauge governments. I will show you some statistics which you may find interesting. Electricity is expensive, so you have to pay for it. Okay? 2010, they increased our tariffs 89%. 2011, 10%. Election year 2012, we were spared. As soon as the election was over, 78% increase. 2014, 28% increase. 2015, 59% increase. 2016, we were spared. Okay? So we endured all these increases whilst we had the doomsday crisis. And the government's response to the doomsday crisis were twofold. One, to go and contract more take-or-pay agreements. As to what motivated it, I don't know. Because you don't go and contract over 5,000 megawatts when you only need half of that. But we had to pay for it. That's one.
Okay.
Two, we are in crisis. Hairdressers are struggling. Barbers are struggling. Coastal owners are struggling. Hotels are struggling. Businesses are struggling because you have to buy generator, pay the cost, buy diesel and all that. And government's response was not to cushion, but to add to it. Okay? To add to it, because you have to then pay. There was a time that some hotels found it more economical to turn on the generator than to use the national grid. There was a time that hotels would not open. They would send guests to another hotel because to have a capacity of 15% return on a generator, it was too expensive. There was a time in this country, we shouldn't forget, that people were working to pay utility bills. And then what you have, 2017, 0% increase. In 2018, you had 18%, 22% reduction. It's only in 2019 that you had 11.2% increase. But 11.2% is actually half of the increase, the reduction that Ghanaians got in 2018. So all in all, even though inflation has gone up, even though there have been some depreciation, even though salaries have gone up, what you are paying for electricity today, is far less than what you were paying
on the
in
capacity
2015.
issue.
Yes.
Your party campaigned mostly on industrialization, all these district factories.
Yes.
Does the capacity not come to serve as a foundation for this industrialization that you were promising? Why would you throw away the capacity that it was put in there?
It's
especially when they also talked about the West African power grid and all of that.
It's a solid argument, Umar. But let me tell you the flaws in that argument. Okay, you want to industrialize, you want to sell to the region, the West African region. There are two things that you do. First of all, there's something they call the take or pay. When you look at it, you must have an off-taker arrangement. If you don't have an off-taker arrangement,
you still pay.
Then why do you go and you say because you want to industrialize and you haven't actually started the process of industrialization, and then you go and sign contracts that even if you don't use, you have to pay. The money that you may need to support your industrialization project, you will use it to pay for electricity that you are not using. You can't say that you're going to sell it to the region when the user fee is more than what they pay in the region.
Let me tell you the flaw in your arguments
Please.
too. If you have a challenge with this capacity, it was so much, it was senseless. When you came in, one deal at least I know you have extended is a car powership.
Yes, but
if you thought the capacity was too much, why did you extend it by asking the Turkish to bring a bigger vessel and stay for a longer time?
Because one, it was renegotiated, where the tariffs came down, and then secondly, because you've already signed with the ENI, Sankofa, we were paying for the gas. Because, for someone to actually invest, for an entity to invest in gas production, gas is not like crude oil. There must be some off-taker arrangement, or nobody will come and put billions of dollars trying to get the gas off the ground. So GMPC had an off-taker arrangement. And as it is now, even GMPC, because of how it was done, GMPC is forfeiting its shares of ENI, the Sankofa gas, so that it can somehow reduce the cost to government. So if you have this, so the ship, the car power ship will send there so that it can make use of the gas that we're already paying.
Yeah, but that would still be excess capacity. It still hovers around the 5,000 installed capacity that you would be having.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really, because what it is that you've negotiated tariff down, what you're paying, and at the same time you are making use of that gas.
If you are a new government that has found the capacity that was provided useless, how many of these have you sent back? How many of these contracts have you cancelled?
And you should know that you can't just take a pen and cancel contracts. Because at the end of the day, it is important that a country should be seen to respect the sanctity of contracts. That's important. That's the first thing. The second thing is that there have been negotiations, and we are seeing some progress in there.
What percentage have we benefited? So, what percentage have you knocked off since you started this negotiation?
For instance, there were a lot of these take or pay arrangements that were supposed to come on stream 2023, 2025. Even under Otchere-Darko, a lot of them were cancelled because at that time some of them were yet to make the necessary investments. So you find a way to cancel them. Others were, if they were coming on stream, like in 2020, it was renegotiated that they delay the coming on stream. And with the expectation that by that time, capacity would have expanded. So some work has been done, and I know that some work is still being done to see how government can make sense of